Welcome to the Attic Mana Dad here. It's the channel where we explore what's fun in Magic, often on Arena, but on Mondays we explore what's going on in the meta, but it's not a Monday. As I hear you saying, it is a Wednesday as I record this because we had Labor Day holiday here in the US, and then my children for some reason didn't go back to school on the Tuesday, and so now it's a Wednesday. But there is just so much to talk about, and I wanted to get out a live video since it's been a minute and update you all on what's going on the meta with Edge of Eternity's standard and upcoming Spider-Man. And of course, everybody's talking about the Vivi Cauldron decks and not if, but when the Banhammer will fall. And I think there's a reason maybe the Banhammer will not fall. We can talk about that. And then also the question is, if and when the Banhammer does fall on that deck, will it be on Vivi? Will it be on Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron? Or will it be on both of them? As I hit my microphone. So, leave your comments on what you think is going to happen. I'm going to share my opinion. But first of all, some of you come here just for the metagame, so let's go through what's happening. I pay for untapped.gg stats, so you don't have to. And I share that with you on a weekly basis here on the channel. So hit subscribe if you want to support that. If you extra want to support that, you can become a member and help pay for the cost of the Untapped subscription, because they ain't giving it to me for free. No, sir. Interestingly enough, last time I did a video, which is now 2 weeks ago, maybe more than 2 weeks ago, Mono White Life Gain was on top, #1 most popular best of one arena standard, and again, it is. And even after Mono Red Aggro won a big event, there was a big tournament in Orlando, I don't know what it was called, the Spacecraft Standard event, hundreds of players. It was mostly Vivi Cauldron decks on day 2, but Mono Red Aggro did manage to get #1, but Mono Red Aggro is #2 in popularity. Now, of course, this is best of one. If you want the best win rate in best of one, actually a Jeskai Artifacts deck might be what you're looking for. Here's a list that's got 69.4%. Let's just click through on that and see what that's up to. I've been really enjoying playing the stuff with weapons manufacturing. Is that what this is? No. We got some authority, a lot of authority of the consoles. Ready to shut down these decks with hasty creatures. One Enigma Jewel, Clayfire Brick, Springload Sawblades, Cryogen Relic, All-Star in the limited format here, Perilous Snare, 4 of those, 4 Pinnacle Star Cages, so shut down the token decks and the, small creature decks, Braided Net, 1 of those, Repurposing Bay to find your 1 of fun ofs, Simulacrum Synthesizer, 4 of, United Battlefront, 4 of, 1 Fire Crystal. That's interesting. Giving creatures haste, I guess good if you make a bunch of giant colorless constructs, you just win. And then you can, repurpose into those. Fomori Vault, Adagia. Interesting. Yeah, so, pretty standard for this deck list, but this player's certainly done well and played for 9 hours with the 77 to 37. And looked like ranked up from about either Platinum, from Platinum to Mythic. Looks like, although they skipped from Diamond to Mythic, they played a different deck, it looks like, and then jumped back to this. Anyways, Smoky Tree, thank you for the list. So that's #1 in win rate, #2 in win rate, Boros Burn, and then #3, Mono White Life Gain. So the Life Gain players may be onto something. Life Gain is certainly a budget deck you can get into. I have a budget version, but let's look at best of 3 because that's going to be our apples to apples comparison with everything we're talking about with Vivi Cauldron. And Izzet Vivi, they have at 16.6% of the metagame. Dimir, not that far behind at 15.1%. And Azorius Control, a distant third at 7.4%. But in terms of win rate on Arena, the Boros Mice are actually taking it down here. 63.5%. Gruul Landfall, nearly 60%, and Mono Green Landfall at nearly 60%. Izzet Vivi #4? It's a good deck, even on Arena. You want to just take a look at Diamond and Mythic. Izzet Vivi is a much higher percentage there. So that's something to look at. In terms of what is going on with popularity, kind of hard to see here, but it looks like, what is this? Teamer Battlecrier is on the way down. And Izzet Vivi still not quite as popular as it was before the end of the month there, but still the most popular. So that's on Arena. But if we look at on MTG Goldfish, which looks at the paper results and the MTG Online results, we're getting something much closer to that tournament. The tournament had 30%. The big tournament in Orlando had 30%. Izzet Cauldron. This puts the standard metagame at 32.3%. Izzet Cauldron. Dimir midrange 13.8%. Azorius Control 16.2%. And see if this is it. Super Sunday RCQ? No, that was won by Izzet Cauldron, but there you go. Marcy Franta taking down the Super Sunday. RCQ? No, that was won by Mono Black Aggro. We can take a look at a Mono Black Aggro list that won a tournament. Sea Soul, Forsaken Miner, Dark Confidant. I've been seeing this list or something similar on the Arena ladder. Four Corpses of the Lost. Kind of fun. Mono Black Aggro. Let Black do some aggro for a change, say I. So yeah, let's see if we can find SCG Con. Ah, here it is. Spotlight Planetary Rotation. So Brandon Roy won with Mono Red Aggro. 4 Razorkin Needlehead in the main. So just super teched out to face Vivi. Has some top end here with Nova Hellkite, Sunspine Lynx. Screaming Nemesis. Also, Vivi's can't really block that, or they're going to take a ton of damage. Yeah, and then 4 Burnout Bastronauts, 4 Hired Claws, 4 Emberheart Challengers. Only 1 Abrade in the main deck, and 1 in the sideboard, which is interesting. I thought that was sort of the deal with Cauldron tech, but also be relevant to removing creatures. You can, if you get a Vivi, well, no, you can't take out a Vivi. Well, if you can get it before they fire something off, I guess. Lightning Strike, Scorching Shot. Scorching Shot's probably your best chance of getting that Vivi in mono red. Vengeful Possession to gain control. And you get a discard draw with that. Interesting. And 2 Chandra Spark Hunters. I'm not sure what deck that comes in against. Huh. 2 Mageblade Lizards, that makes more sense, and some Fire Magics as sweepers. Anyways, that's the red. 24 lands in a red aggro deck. Can you even call it aggro at that point? Is it just red min-range? It certainly has the 1-drops to be an aggro deck. So, yeah, if the Vivi continues, I guess this is the way to beat it. But as we can see, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all Cauldron, 8th and 9th, more aggro, then 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, Cauldron, then finally 14th, 3rd deck with Azorius Control played by Daniel Fournier. Then more aggros, Cauldron, aggro, Cauldron, a Teamer Battlecrier combo, 20th. Yeah, there's a Selesnya Kona down at 40th. If you're looking for some spice. 4 Adagias. 3 Avendos. Get some Ghost Vacuum to deal with the graveyard. Like the or maybe Ghost Vacuum is meant to be a sideboard. It looks like the sideboard's all mashed in here. But anyways, Izzet Cauldron, what are we going to do about it? So let's look at the number 2 list here. And these were Cauldron decks that were probably specifically teched out to beat other Cauldron decks, maybe more in the sideboard. Annul, Bounce Off, Fire Magic into the Flood Maw, Spell Pierce, Torch the Tower, Disdainful Stroke, Essence Scatter, Obliterating Bolt, Quantum River, 1 Meringue River Regent. Interesting, only 2 Abrades in the main deck. But a null is, I guess, another way to hit your opponent's Cauldron. Although then it just, yeah, well, it sends it to the graveyard, so that deals enough with it. So yes, Vivi, Cauldron. So assuming Wizards is not going just by best of one, because look, if we look at best of one, no Cauldron to be seen here in best of one on Arena. If that is what they say, Standard is really about best of one. We're not going to ban Vivi Cauldron. I think that I'm not putting that at a high possibility. I think that's on the table as a decision. So that's my reason why there could be no bans. And I haven't heard anybody else say that. But just looking at the stats here, if you are like most players of Arena, just playing best of one Standard, there's a nice mix of decks here. It's looking like their design is working. Maybe let's look at Diamond to Mythic. We got Izzet Prowess at number 8 there. So yeah, people not as interested in playing it in best of one, but best of 3, which is where all the commentary and all the pros and all the, I won't say all the brain power, but a lot of the brain power in the game goes to breaking best of 3 in Standard. And I'd say it's broken. If you're talking about a tournament where a lot of people came ready to fight Izzet Cauldron and it's still just absolutely dominated. Now, sure, it didn't win, but I'd say that the percentage-wise, especially going into day 2, so all, if you had 30% of the field, but then by day 2 it was 50% of the field, that means it was winning even against a bunch of other decks that were teched to try to beat it. Nobody was going to show up there not trying, not with the deck they didn't think could beat Cauldron. And a lot of them made the wrong bet. Their decks did not beat Cauldron. So, Cauldron is going to be easier for Wizard to ban. It's been out longer. It's actually, I think, a more fun card. It hasn't broken anything for the time it's been here until they printed Vivi. I think Vivi has much more of a chance of being broken. Now, if you take away Cauldron and then Vivi is still broken, that's a pretty bad thing. Maybe if they do an emergency ban, they just start with Cauldron, and then in 3 weeks, there's another ban window, and then maybe they reevaluate Vivi at that point. I could see that happening at any point. Just emergency ban Cauldron, and and then follow up on Vivi. I don't know. People are saying they're not going to ban Vivi. It's from Final Fantasy. They want to sell more packs. But on the other hand, like, Vivi is not what's selling packs of Final Fantasy. People are collecting Vivi. Vivi will actually probably maintain quite a bit of value. Which a playset of Vivi's is $177. There was a guy at my local game store this weekend who had opened a Vivi and was just desperate to try and get rid of it before any kind of ban came down. And that was before we got the results of the thing. Yeah, so selling for about $45 currently. But if you've got them, and I wouldn't be sitting on them. I think it probably drops down to like 20 if they ban it. So that's not, on one hand, that's like more than half of your value, but on the other hand, like it won't go to 0 for sure. It's a great card. It's good in other formats. I certainly am looking to collect one for my collection of banned cards. So there's that. Cauldron. What can I say about Cauldron? Let's see if anybody has any comments. Dave Does Magic said not getting banned. Dave, are you thinking that it's just not getting banned because, are you thinking about both of them, that just Wizards just doesn't care that much? Or are you buying into my logic here that they're looking at best of one and they're going, best of one's fine. We're not that concerned. I think the next big pro season is going to be Modern anyway. Let's be frank, says best of one in reality is not MTG. I mean, it's not. It's not the best way to play Magic. For a busy dad like me, it's the option I get. I don't always have that block of time uninterrupted to play best of 3, but best of 1 is much easier. Just pick up my phone. If a child interrupts a game, whatever, I just lost 1 game. It's not a big deal. Frank says, Vivi prowess will still be a thing. Cauldron would be a silly ban. Yeah, so if they ban Cauldron, you'd still have Vivi prowess. It would still be quite strong. Hopefully they have people who can test that kind of thing and kind of help them make the decision. People are really feeling like they've cut too many people at Wizards, especially people who do the balancing. And like as they up the number of cards they print, it's just like getting out of control. And you get things like this. And I don't know. If they ban that deck, then just it becomes Dimir midrange, and I'm not sure that they want Dimir midrange to be the best deck. Although it's a fine deck, it's just been around for a while. We'll see. Spider-Man's coming out soon. There's always that excuse they use. We want to see what the new set does before we ban anything. So maybe Dave Does Magic is right about that. Maybe I should move. I'd say I put no ban of either of these cards in the next month at, let's see, 20%. And I'd say 25% bans both, and the rest bans one or the other. Probably more likely Cauldron. There we go. I'm putting my my percentages out there. Frank says if Vivi is banned, then Kona will just take over, even though they're everywhere already as it is. You mean like the Omniscience decks? I think they should have banned Omniscience when they had the chance. There's just going to be lots of problems with Omniscience because that's in Foundations. That's going to be in Standard for 5 years, breaking things. But I don't know. I don't know what they want to do, but we will learn a lot based on how they react to the Izzet Cauldron. We just had a huge amount of bans. Vivi skated through because they said we want to see what it's going to do when the new set comes out. And people hadn't quite figured out PVDDR, Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, one of the all-time great pros, had said that Vivi Cauldron was broken, I think. But it just took a while for that opinion to become the majority of opinion and start taking over tournaments. But now I think, yeah, a bunch of degenerate. Well, yeah, Standard has gotten more degenerate. If you like the old style of Standard, that's long gone. I would say that would be the thing that's probably not coming back. And I would agree with Frank on that. Powerful effects that only red deck wins can outpace. Yeah, red deck has been the sort of safety valve. And it took some hits at the last bans, but it still obviously has the tools it takes to compete at the highest levels. And I think a lot of pros prefer to play like Control rather than aggro. Aggro is much more of a coin flip. Control mirrors are much more about outthinking your opponent, and the longer the game goes, the more advantage to the better player. So it's always I guess if you count and then you would call in the rock paper scissors of a Vivi as the combo deck. But yeah, I've seen people on Reddit say that we got rock and paper and no scissors. Because you've got Vivi, which can go over the top of most things, but mono red, which can go under Vivi. But then what is policing both of those decks? How are you going round robin or rock paper scissors with it? Interesting question. All right, well, let's get back to the meta. Continue to leave your comments and discuss what you think is going to happen. I would love to hear other opinions if anybody has a crystal ball and can see into the future. Looking at Pioneer on Arena, we've got Rakdos aggro is number 1 popularity, very closely followed by Mono Red aggro. In terms of win rate, Boros aggro is better than Rakdos aggro or Mono Red aggro, according to the stats here. Mono Red aggro has kind of fallen off since the middle of last month in terms of popularity. Still on top. And Rakdos aggro, in terms of win rate, is going down. Anything going up? Mono Black mid-range is on the uptick in terms of win rate, so maybe going into this meta. And Selesnya Angels, it's basically flat, but you could say it really surged at the end of the month. So that's Pioneer best of 1, best of 3. There's not usually a lot of data, but just to compare here, Rakdos mid-range most popular is at Vivi. Is the highest win rate. Although Boros Hammer close behind, and then Izzet Prowess close behind that, and Mono Red close behind that. Orzhov Greasefang, you can definitely rank up quickly with these decks, it looks like, with some pretty high win rate decks here on Arena. Now looking at Pioneer here on MTG Goldfish, Mono Red aggro they have is far and away the number 1 in the metagame, 21.1%. Rakdos midrange at 13.6%, Mono Black midrange at 9.4%, Zori's Control at 8.5%. The recent 5.0 decks, though, we've got a lot of different variety here. Nominal Creativity, Simic Scape Shift, Mono Red aggro, Selesnya Angels, Gruul Prowess, Zori's Control, Rakdos midrange. Anything else? There's Hammer Time. That got 6th place in a Pioneer Challenge. So, pretty cool. Modern, not on Arena, but I did see somebody point out there's only about 50 cards they would need to add to have all of competitive Modern, like to cover all of these top metagame decks. And that's what they're calling Pioneer on Arena, so I could see them, but especially since the next pro season is going to be Modern, I mean, maybe it takes a lot longer for them to do that. Maybe they haven't realized that internally, but they certainly do now, I think, with the conversation online about it. So could it happen soon? Yeah. Could it happen in like a year or more? Also, yeah. Boros Energy, far and away the best, but got Domain Zoo, Amulet Titan, a lot of things hovering around 5%. And if you watch other metagame analyses, they often say that this Modern is very good and healthy right now. So surprisingly, after there hasn't been a straight to Modern release in a while, it's calmed down and gotten good. Maybe they should leave it that way. I don't know. What else can we look at here? Popper. So as we're talking about stuff that's not on Arena. This is the one I always like looking at this metagame. Bunch of different decks that seem viable. Legacy number 1 again is Dimir Reanimator this week. Vintage looks like Mono White Initiative is far and away more popular than Jewel Shops, at least as calculated by MTG Goldfish. Penny Dreadful has Cloud Post, Colorless Cloud Post, whatever this is, Ramp, Colorless Cloud Post Ramp. For Commander, they're just showing Edgar Markov, Hearthhole, which I have a Brawl video for, Ms. Bumbleflower, the top 3. Their Brawl shows Bristly Bill, Tanuki, and Vivi, followed by Kinnan and Samey Wildcat Captain. And if we look on here at Alchemy, see what's going on in the Alchemy world. Selesnya Rabbits, number 1 in win rate. Izzet Vivi, though, is number 1 in popularity. Maybe people just straight up porting their Vivi decks right over. It is number 2 in win rate, not far behind Selesnya Rabbits. And that's Alchemy. In Historic, definitely got an influx of some interesting cards with Edge of Eternity. I've seen people complaining about the Eldrazi decks. Let's see if their win rate is overpowering. No, I mean, well, it's high. Number 2 in win rate as of today, 62.6%. But Boros Auras has a better win rate. And Gruul Eldrazi is number 5 in popularity. Izzet Wizards, Boros Auras, and Naya Lifegain being the top 3. And Mono Green Elves on a slight downtrend in win rate. And Izzet Wizards and Boros Auras and Naya Val on a slight uptrend in win rate. Everything else looking kind of flat. Historic best of 1. Or even any data for best of 3. Number 1 in win rate, Simic Eldrazi. So there you go. Eldrazi and Gruul Eldrazi most popular. So in the old Timeless, speaking of adding crazy cards like Strip Mine to the format, number 1 in win rate, Mardu Energy. I think it was like that well before Final Fantasy or Edge of Eternities was printed. Mardu Energy has been on top. Izzet Affinity is actually the most popular today. But there's Gruul Eldrazi also up there pretty strong. And then in Brawl, I don't know why it still says Historic Brawl here on Untapped. They haven't gotten the name change. But this should be actual Brawl, 100-card Brawl. Rathalos, the most popular. And I actually have a Rathalos list I haven't recorded a video for. But this might be a good chance to do that. And it's number 1 in win rate. So I guess stick around on the channel to see some Rathalos action. All right, let's go back to the chat and see if we've got any updates. Dave says, standard 1-on-1, standard, like, best of 1, you mean, yeah, is like peanut butter and jam. I don't know. I don't know what Dave means by that, but there is, I use a peanut butter and jelly analysis a lot with, like, decks that need two ingredients, and you got to have the right amount. You don't want all the peanut butter or all the jelly. The thing about the Vivi deck is if you don't draw Cauldron, you can still win with Vivi. And if they remove Vivi, you can still draw Cauldron and win. And because your deck goes through so many cards, you do end up drawing both peanut butter and jam in most games. So in that case, in that sense, it's a very strong deck, and it's still going to be strong even if they ban one of the pieces. Although, I guess if they ban Vivi, maybe it's not so strong. What would it morph into? You still have the Makos. I could think about that for a second. Except, I gotta blow my nose. And somebody is coming to change the gas meter, so I should probably wrap this one up. But you can continue to comment on the video, even if it's not live. And thanks for joining me here in the attic. I've been Manadad reminding you, Magic is a game so fun